We just saw Endgame.
I didn't.
Yeah, we as in him and I.
We went to the doctors and got shots.
She has zero interest in seeing Endgame at all, but she wants to know what happens in the end.
I probably want to see Paul Rudd being funny also.
You're funny.
The movie starts, and I forgot what happens.
Tony Stark is hacking away at stuff on the ship, and he's depressed. And
The movie starts, and Hawkeye is with his family, and then they all get dusted. They all disappear. Iron Man and
Nebula.
Blue Meanie, they're playing this game. Tony Stark's, we're gonna die. And then Captain Marvel shows up. She doesn't say anything. She just flies down to Avengers headquarters
like,
with the ship, drops it down.
Look right away.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. It isn't like Tony being like, who are you? Like, where are we going? There's just...
No wait and no explanation.
Yeah, Captain Marvel, I'm gonna go kill Thanos. And so they all go and they kill Thanos immediately. They chop his head off right away. Captain Marvel has him in a headlock. And
This is stupid.
And Hulk pushes him, but Captain Marvel's no longer holding him in a headlock. It makes no sense. He goes flying across the room. And then he says something else, and then Thor chops his head off. And that's it. That's it. He's dead.
So what happens for the next 3 hours?
Then 5 years go by.
You see Captain America, he's in like group therapy with some guys about coping with, loss.
They don't explain it.
Yeah, everyone's just
because the
really
Mets are gone. Somebody said he misses the Mets, so
why don't they just put the Mets back together?
No, nobody's like driven a car in like 5 years either. They're just,
that's good.
They're just all over.
Solve climate change, but
it's true. The only time you see anyone else really is like his kid on a bicycle.
Everyone else has just spent 5 years being depressed.
Seems like it.
Not that they would have been like, oh, I'm over it, but like that society would have redeveloped into society.
No, but the shot they show of the parking lot and the baseball field is just like cars rammed into each other.
Because they all got dusted.
Nobody cleaned it up.
Hey, pick us up in 2 hours.
Fuck you, Miss Daisy.
You see like this rat crawling on the panel with the quantum device, and it turns on, and he just gets like shot out into a pile of garbage.
Good.
So he doesn't know what's going on, and he asks the kid what the hell happened, and the kid just looks at him and drives away in his bicycle.
Yeah, he shows up at his house, and his daughter's like grown up.
So he immediately abandons his daughter to go to Captain America.
Yeah,
it's like Captain America.
You never even see him go in the house. They just like hug each other, and then it's like he shows up at the Avengers headquarters.
Anyway, he shows up to Captain America's house, and he...
Why are you calling Captain America's house? It's Avengers headquarters.
He wants them to use the quantum realm to time travel. It takes on the tone of like, we're putting a band back together.
Putting the band back together.
So they try to recruit Tony to do it, and Tony's like, no, like I have a daughter now.
Why did she still not leave him?
Ma'am, you gotta understand that this is a lot bigger than any domestic problems you might be experiencing.
Every movie, she's like, I'm gonna leave you if you psychologically abuse me one more time, and then he does.
I need you.
I need you too. That's what I'm trying to say.
No.
But now they're happy and they're chilling in a cabin.
And then he gets recruited though.
No. They show up and they're like, yo, we need your help. And he's like,
he literally doesn't do anything else in the whole movie.
He's like, yo, I'm Tony Stark. I do me. So you guys can go F yourself while I handle my family here.
And then he literally just stays with his family the rest of the movie.
No.
Exactly.
And we should have no more surprises, ever. I should promise you.
Yes.
I will. Tony Stark, I need you to come with me.
She was actually quite understanding. So Tony says no, and they're like, oh man, but we need someone smart. They had a Bruce Banner.
We're putting the band back together.
And he's in a diner, and he's got like a huge plates of food. And he's the Hulk, body-wise, but...
Keep it moving. I'm gonna watch it on Netflix or whatever.
Bruce is tinkering. Ant-Man is like the guinea pig.
Are his friends alive? No, not like his smart friends, his criminal friends.
Want to know about that tip? Oh, baby, Tom! It's so hungry.
I don't really know what the structure was.
I don't know either.
There's no structure. Skip the jokes. I wanted to know like who dies and stuff.
So Hawkeye's gone crazy.
He's been on a warpath.
Went out and killed
just
like thousands
everybody.
of people.
Oh.
He goes after like big gangs and stuff. Like he killed all the gangs in Mexico.
What about the KKK?
And then he's out now. He goes and he kills all the gangs in Japan.
Just the people of color gangs.
Yeah, he kills them all. Tony can't help himself from figuring out time travel on his own at home.
Because he's got the self-destructive thing going.
There's a third putting the band back together moment with Thor, where he's really fat now. He just wants to play video games and be a drunk.
But
putting the band back together.
Forget it. No way.
He absolutely doesn't want to join the band again, but then Rocket tells him that they have beer on the ship. Their new plan is to go back in time, and at different points in time, different teams gather the stones so they can make their own gauntlet and snap everybody back into existence.
So they get the band back together and then they split up.
So they're creating like a bunch of timelines.
Potentially, yes. It's under the assumption that they'll borrow them and then bring them back.
The timeline's gonna be affected if they...
They have a lot of talk about timelines.
Are you telling me that you built a time machine? Out of a DeLorean?
There's definitely a bunch of huge plot holes in there.
Okay.
Hawkeye takes Black Widow and he throws her off the cliff to get the Soul Stone. He doesn't really throw her off the cliff. Black Widow ends up dying so that they get the Soul Stone.
But then she's dead in like all the timelines?
She's done.
Apparently, I don't know. So there's this whole big thing. Nebula going back into the past. They're trying to retrieve the Power Stone. Peter Quill.
Like the beginning of Guardians of the Galaxy.
Okay.
They intercept that pretty easily.
There's this other thing that happened.
They have this little snafu where they try to
everyone succeeds in their mission except the people getting the Tesseract. So Loki grabs it and he goes somewhere else into space. They have like an energy source to use the time traveling thing from the
But they can only go to
they can only use it twice. So they use it to go back.
Why?
Because movie logic.
If we're underwater, how can there be a...
I hate movies.
So then they figure out a place and time they could go back and get the Tesseract and more Pym particles so they can make another time travel jump. Captain America fights Captain America, but it's okay because he thinks it's Loki. So it's not like a I'm seeing myself here type thing. Nebula's future self and her current self intertwined brains because she's mechanical or something. So Thanos gets wind of all this. So that's like a kind of important point. Anyway, so they all get the stones.
But Thanos knew about it.
Right. Well, they all do it relatively quickly, right? Not that that matters in time travel. Anyway, he's just finding out about it as they come back to the present with all the stones.
He should have never been able to snap everyone because the stones would have been missing before he got there.
Right.
So then they come back to present and everything should already be fixed.
Probably. So anyway, they come back and they assemble their own gauntlet. Hulk uses the gauntlet to snap everybody back into existence.
There wasn't just like more mass chaos? They just like didn't acknowledge any of like what
No, what happened is as soon as they got snapped back into existence, Hawkeye got a call from his wife.
They all just like reappeared wherever they had been. So like everyone was in these crashed cars and the mech field.
Assuming so, who knows? So that's when Thanos shows up. He shows up like right then.
Because he's not dead anymore?
When Nebula was in the past, they had them switch. Because they all have these devices to bring them back to...
He gets a Pym particle, and he can time travel too now. So he shows up with his band.
Nebula opens up like
so he doesn't have any Infinity Stones. So
it sounds like
Gamora is still dead, except... No, because her 2014 self traveled
with
Thanos and Nebula to 2019.
So then the timeline's
so
still all
back.
messed up somehow. Because then if she disappeared, then how was she thrown off?
They have a big fight. Pepper Potts shows up in a purple Iron Man suit to fight.
They just don't care if they like orphan their child, repeating the cycles of abuse onto her kid.
Now you're not going back on the road no more. You better think about what's trying to do to me.
So they have a big fight, and Captain America wields Thor's hammer because he almost did it in the movie once.
When Thor went back to the past, he decided to steal his own hammer from back then, which I felt like would have caused problems.
From that point on, Thor would not have had a hammer.
Right. And Thanos shouldn't have been able to get the stones anyway.
Right. Yeah. So then they have a big fight, and it looks like they're gonna lose. And then a bunch of Doctor Strange type portals open up, and all the heroes come charging.
Turn to dust before they
so they charge each other.
How do they even know like what happened though? If they're like undusted.
Well, because Doctor Strange used the stone in the last movie to look at all the different outcomes.
Right.
Eventually, some weird nonsense happens where Thanos gets the gauntlet back, but all of a sudden the stones are all gone, and Iron Man has all the stones on.
How?
Because he tricked them.
Because you know Tony has like his like nanobots that they can like move.
Yeah.
So what they did was they made like a gauntlet using Tony Stark's technology. So when Thanos is wearing it, and then Tony goes up to him, he like makes the nanobots like shift the stones from his gauntlet to his armor.
Is that how it works? Yeah. And anyway, so then Stark uses the gauntlet, so he just snaps Thanos' army out of existence. He dies from it.
Too.
Captain America has to go back in time to put the stones back
he chooses
in their place. So then he comes back.
So I guess that's why everyone still was snapped out because he did that. Had he not done that, they
that's
probably
what I'm
would
saying.
have.
The premise would be that they only borrow them, and then they brought them back so that all the timelines would keep going properly.
That's so stupid.
I know, but technically
they
it would
just
make a
hadn't
new.
brought him back.
Yeah.
It's a mess.
The time continuum has been disrupted, creating this new temporal event sequence resulting in this alternate reality.
Captain America's an old guy because he went back in time to put all the stones back in their place.
So he decided to stay
with
his old sweetheart.
So he's an old man. Iron Man's dead. Scarlett Johansson's dead. And there's a funeral. And Falcon is going to be the new Captain America. And that's the end of the movie.
No, wait!
Well, Iron Man's dead.
I don't care. Iron Man's psycho. It sounds dumb.
Alright, that's a wrap. Thanks for joining us.
I wonder if you can hear anything
Any
we're
last
saying.
comments? Oh yeah, tell me more. Tell me more about the story you're telling.